Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Baron here. Now I'm going to be showing off the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt, which is one of the German premium aircraft. Now, real briefly, I was not able to get the most out of this plane's performance because it provides a certain role that, even in historical battles, you're not always able to get the most out of this aircraft for a couple reasons, which I will describe. But after you know the limitations of this aircraft as well as its strengths, you can really do rather well. But you're going to see me kind of not really using all of its strengths or how the aircraft should be flown, and that kind of has to do with tactically what's going on in most of the games that I'm playing. But prior to getting into that, let's deal with the first comment, and this comes from Riddick, and he says, "I'm not a tank person, I'm a plane person, and that's why I got into playing this game." Well, Riddick, and everyone else out there, you don't have to just be a plane person. You could be a plane person, a tank person, or even a ship person, and at some point you will get to play all of those within War Thunder. And furthermore, if you're a plane person and you want to bomb tanks controlled by other people, you're going to be able to do that, and I cannot wait for that. So my question is, out of all of the three areas of the game that you're going to get to play, the ground, playing as tanks, and maybe even armored cars and armored vehicles in the future, the planes that we have now, and then ships, out of those three, which one are you most looking forward to? Obviously, with planes, it's already out, so which one do you think you'll have the most fun playing and will play the most once all three of those are out? So, back to the P-47. Now, the P-47 has a couple of nicknames, and they kind of show a little bit about this guy's flight characteristics as well as its looks, and kind of, if you read into them, you get an idea of what historically the strengths of this aircraft were. It was known as the Jug. Some people even called it the flying bathtub, or just like the milk jug, because when you look at it, it kind of looks like one of the olden days milk jugs. And the thing is a beast. It was one of the, if not the heaviest single prop engined plane ever created. It was one of the most expensive World War II fighter prop planes, and it was built like a tank. This thing could take a lot of damage historically. It had a very sturdy airframe. It had a very tough and decently armored engine, so this thing could take a beating and you could get back to base. That was one of the main strengths of this aircraft historically, as well as it had a very, very good dive rate, and that has to do with two things: with it being a very heavy aircraft, as well as being a very sturdy and well-made and strong aircraft. This thing could dive like no other. It could outdive most German fighter aircraft in the war, and they were known as being good divers for the most part. The Bf-109s and Focke-Wulf 190s. Pretty good boom and zoom, vertically maneuvering aircraft. This thing could dive. You could not outdive this, pretty much. But the problem was the earlier models, until later in the war when they developed a different propeller. This thing had a not very good climb rate, especially at low altitudes. This aircraft is a high altitude fighter. At high altitudes, 15,000 feet and above, this thing can outturn Bf-109s and Focke-Wulf 190s. Below that, this thing can get outturned by those and get chewed up by them. And with the fact that given you start on airfields, you know, and if you're gonna try to race a Bf-109, that thing will get up above you before you can even get to your optimum altitude. So that's kind of one of the ways in that you can't, it's very difficult to get the most out of the Jug, because you're not able to really get up to the altitude where you're going to start stomping people. So it's kind of a shame in that regard, but I mean, it's still a pretty awesome plane, and it doesn't seem to take as much of a beating as you would hope that, you know, it could, based off its historical reputation, but that could be changed in the future. And with its 850 caliber machine guns, it's got some pretty good firepower. Something interesting is that historically the P-47 was a very good fighter bomber, and that has to do with its very sturdy construction, very strong, very big, wide wings. This thing could hold like 2,000 plus pounds of bombs as well as rockets, but with the German Premium one you don't have access to those bombs, so you don't really get to enjoy that. Look at me trying to outturn this Lavochkin. Noob. Oh man. But yeah, so at low altitudes you're gonna get crushed. You are gonna get crushed, but you can't really fighter bomb as a German because you don't have the options. Maybe change in the future, but there was only one P-47 that was captured by the Germans and flown by the Germans. Now with regard to other nations, you know, a lot of other nations flew the P-47. The RAF did, France did, the Soviets. The Germans obviously had this one captured one, so that's why we get to play it as a premium. And then it was even flown by the Chinese after World War II. So when the Chinese Civil War was going on, that's actually during the period of the Korean War. So we may see, it'd be kind of cool to see Chinese tank aircraft. Well, I guess you wouldn't really have much of a Navy line, but I think you could rationalize maybe a Chinese tank line in the future, and I don't know, maybe a sub line of Chinese aircraft for the Americans. Not really sure how you do that, but it's a possibility. You never know. And yeah, so really how you want to be flying this to get the most out of this aircraft, you're gonna need to fly at high altitudes. And if something catches on you, don't be afraid to just dive straight down. You'll be able to outdive most enemy aircraft within, you know, a similar tier. And it's got good firepower. I like to use my Omni shell racks on this thing because I like the armor-piercing incendiaries. I think those usually work pretty good. Historically, the Thunderbolt could use APIT rounds. See, there you go, shredding up that Spitfire right there. Awesome. It'd be great to have APIT rounds in this bad boy, because then it could just tear stuff up. And it would also be a pretty good ground attacker on light armor. Now, let's see. So, closing comments. 2MLG for you was arguing about how the Sherman was not a very good tank. I mean, one-on-one, it's a terrible tank for, you know, against most German tanks and even Soviet tanks. But when you factor in that you could mass produce that thing and it was fast, you set 4 Shermans on a Tiger, you know, assuming they can get in close and the Tiger can't snipe them off, they're gonna get in there. And that kind of has to do with a lot of people were saying on the last video, the Heinkel 112 video, what tanks they were looking forward to the most, and I think the 4 most popular ones were the Tiger 1, the T-34, the Panther, and the M18 Hellcat. And the Hellcat probably because it's going to be the fastest tank in the game. And then finally we have Tumbledorf, and he asked me which premium plane do I recommend the best, or I don't know. That's a very tough question. I can't really answer it, but I guess the simple way out would be Zhukovsky's Chaika. The Chaika is easily the best tier 1 aircraft, and the fact that you can get a premium one just means you can grind pretty well with that aircraft. So I think Zhukovsky's Chaika is the best premium plane. Now as for my favorite premium plane, well, I haven't played them all yet, so let me know which ones you want to see me play next. I'm Baron. This was the P-47 German Premium Thunderbolt. Thanks for watching.
Yo guys, watch out, you guys are getting close.
We're just overlapping our gunfire even more.
0.06 miles away right now. Here we
it
go.
says you're point 12.
Coming in hot.
Coming hot, switching to gun view.
He's out of my fire arc.
He's always going for me, man. Don't necesito anything. Don't ram me either, you dummy.
Oh, yeah! Take a seat, son. Take a seat. I landed literally 2 shots on that thing and he's dead.
I lit him
Yeah.
up, man. I lit him up.
Nice, guys.